Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson, this is Gaz, this is Full-Time Devils, these lads are these lads, and this is the huge Manchester United debate. Today we are talking about the 3 players in and the 3 players out in the summer transfer window as requested by Santiago and others on last week's huge debate. So, to kick us off, Gaz, give us your first out.
My first out would be a player that I had high hopes for. I still think he'd be a good Man United player if he could stay fit for a season, and he just can't do it. He's too injury prone. There's no point having him in the squad. Phil Jones. And I hate to say it because he's a man that'll put his head on the line quite literally for United. He's the type of defender that I actually like, and if he got a run of games together, I think he'd be half decent, but he can't get the run of games together. Phil Jones, out.
How old is Jones now?
He's still a young player. He's still got a lot of space for improvement, but he's not going to get the games. There's no point.
Squawka Dave, tell the people who your first out is.
It's got to be that man, the tree. It's going to be Fellaini. I just think he doesn't offer anything to this United team anymore. He's terrible on the ball, can't play a forward pass. You know, the big chances he's missed this season, Wolfsburg, Bournemouth, Watford, he's missed so many big opportunities to be a hero at United and he hasn't taken it. So for me, he's out the door.
Okie dokie. Joshi, give me your first out, please.
It's Joshi, but yeah.
He's not from Mario.
My first out, well,
Love doing
I can't argue against the Squawka Dave here, but given I don't want to repeat things, probably Antonio Valencia. I mean, we've had Varea emerging. I think Damian still, I think I would still keep him and see how he gets on under a new manager. And Valencia, I think he's a liability at right back and doesn't offer anything going forward. So yeah, he would be mine, given that we've already mentioned Fellaini.
Go on then, Mac. Let's hear it.
Right, I've got both of those players in mind, so I'm going to just use one of them. Fellaini.
Both? How do you have both of 3 people?
Sorry, Fellaini's in there because of the same things that Dave said, really. I don't think he brings anything to the team. I don't think we use him to his best abilities. Like, remember when he used to play against us for Everton? We don't use him like that, so why use him at all? Sometimes we try and put him at DM in central midfield to try and dictate play, and it's just like, what is going on? It just hurts. And I think Fellaini has been kind of representation of Manchester United post-Fergie on the whole, and it just depresses me.
So after the first round, we're looking at 2 votes for Fellaini, 1 for Jones and 1 for Antonio Valencia. I'm sure there's not many disagree with those choices, but let's see what you got for the second one. Gaz, who are you going for second?
I'm going for what Adam and Josh said. Oh no, sorry, what Adam and Dave said, and that is Marouane Fellaini. Get him gone. He's a midfielder who can't tackle, can't pass, can't even head. He does nothing for us. He does nothing for us in any game. He's had the chance this season to actually have an influence, but he's not been worthy of his transfer fee at all. And if we can get anything above 8 million for him, it would be a miracle. And I'd snap the hand off.
We could get anything.
Marouane Fellaini for me.
Yeah, anything. I was thinking like a bag of quavers or something.
Yeah.
Dave, talk to me. Who's second on your list out?
I'm going to go for Rojo. I just feel he doesn't have the composure or the ability to be a Manchester United defender. I feel at the left back, he's suspect defensively on the turn. Navas recently absolutely ruined him in the derby. There's times where he just doesn't know how to deal with a bouncing ball. He lacks the Man United class of, Nemanja Vidic and Rio Ferdinand, who are defenders that were up there at that top level. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that game intelligence. So I just feel that he's potentially got to be moved on so someone else can come in and take his sort of position, either be at full-back or at centre-half.
Dave, if we're comparing people to Rio Ferdinand and Vidic and we're saying that's the bar that we have to set for Manchester United players, we will have no more players left at the team.
Well, then that's something that potentially might need to happen. That might be it,
That is
These exactly. If you don't compare it to greats or players that we've seen in our lifetime, then and they're Man United players. They're the players that have taken us to league titles. You've got to think about that, and you've got to just rejuvenate the squad.
I think every team needs a Rojo. I don't think he should be starting every week. But I think he's kind of like, I totally see the reason, John, about positionally he's sometimes off. And he does fly into challenges, but I think you need that sometimes. We've always had those kind of players that can be on the bench or you can start every other week and they just love playing for the team. They work their socks off and he's not that bad, is he? So I think I'd keep someone like Rojo in the team. I think.
Yeah, I think Adam's got a great point there. I think there was a lot of complaints about how the summer window was dealt with last season. There were so many players that was on the periphery of the first team, like the likes of Rojo's level of ability that went out. I think letting any more go is a bit wild. Joshi, do you want to tell me your second out, please?
I think look, we've already established Fellaini's going out, so I'm going to say Michael Carrick. He's coming to the end of his contract. I think he's 35 years old. He's not mobile. His passing hasn't been at its best this season either. He's not the most reliable, and I think when he's in the side, things just slow down. And if you just get him out of the side, then you're more likely to play Schneiderlin and Herrera in there. And obviously, we're thinking about our ins as well. But Michael Carrick.
Interesting. Go on, Matt. Let's hear your second out.
Mine is one that's already been said, and I'm disappointed by this because I genuinely thought he would eventually be United captain one day. Phil Jones. I think
the next Duncan Edwards.
I've never said that, by the way. I think Fergie hit the crack pipe that night, but I think with Phil Jones, I think this was the season where he needed a season like last season that Chris Smalling had, and he just hasn't had a season like that, partly because of injuries and partly because he's not good enough. And I think the move would be best for both the club and himself. I think he needs to move to a team where he's going to be more likely to play week in, week out, and hopefully not be injured every week. But yeah, Philip Jones.
I'd argue with your sort of Rojo point about how he's a squad player that's around the squad, goes into tackles. I'd rather keep Phil Jones than Rojo.
He's never fit though, mate.
But then that's the issue. If he can get fit and if he can get over this sort of maybe this technical issue where he is going into tackles too hard, and he should be pulling himself out a bit. Those tackles where he overruns the balls. Take a step, lose the ball, let it go, and then sort of stand up. Shuttle him out to a wide area and try and win the ball back. But I feel with Phil Jones, he has that potential and he's more versatile. He can play midfield, play right back, play centre half, probably could play left back. So I feel that keeping him would be a better option than keeping Rojo.
I think Rojo's better than him, to be honest. And I think, let me just check how old they are. I don't even, Jones is 24, yeah. Rojo's 26. So is there much difference in age to be saying that Jones has got more potential? I think Phil, it's not much of a difference. It's not Rojo's 28. So I think, Phil Jones to go. And plus, I think Rojo's missus is better than Jones.
Okay, so we're saying Jones there. Okay, I get what you're saying. There's an index I can't remember the name of. I've just been sitting here racking my brain trying to think of it. It's one of the defensive Premier League indexes, and Jones is very, very high on that list. I think he's in the top 2 or 3 of defensive index. That's the score that he has impact on the game as a defender. It's extremely high. Him and Chris Smalling's both extremely high, but I think his just edges it. The issue is, as we've quite rightly said, is his injuries. And I think what Dave's saying is correct. If he could just change the way he plays, and he's not going to change the way he plays. Brian Robson never changed the way he plays, and he was perpetually injured throughout his whole career because he put himself on the line like that. So you can't ever change the way a player plays like that. So I think he's probably going to be destined to be injured for most of his career, I would have thought. Shame. Okay, so third one. Let's see who you're going for.
Right, this is a controversial one, and he's a man that if I could keep, I obviously would forever because he's our best player without a doubt. But I have a feeling he will want to leave anyway, and I think I have a feeling that if he wants to leave, there's no point letting it drag out for the whole transfer window.
Ashley Young, man,
selling him on deadline day, and then not being able to bring a replacement in, and that's David De Gea. I think that if we can sort it out, that if we eventually come to the fact that he does want to leave Man United, then get rid of him straight away in that transfer market, because there's not going to be any chance of us keeping hold of him. And if he doesn't actually want to play for us, do we really want to keep hold of him? Get him out early and then bring in a replacement, and then we've got all transfer market to do it. I don't want to see him go on deadline day and then us have no option to bring in.
It's a controversial call, but do you want to start your work on looking for a replacement the day you sell someone? If we know he's going now, I would like to have us been collating reports for the last 2 months.
Definitely, no, I completely agree, but it's we'd rather do it at the start of the transfer market than on deadline day.
Maybe go a bit weird that then. Dave, hit me up with your last one. to go?
I think I'm going to go with Michael Carrick, not because I don't think he's a bad, I don't think he's deteriorated too much as a player. I feel like recently against Liverpool, against Manchester City, he showed his controlling influence, his ability to play that forward pass into an attacking player and read the game. I think he's been really good in the last month or so, but I just feel that potentially it's the right time. If a new manager's coming in, is Carrick going to fit into that system at all of being an energetic box-to-box player? Absolutely not. So that's why I feel like Carrick could be a good thing, to part ways. His contract's expiring. Maybe keep him on at the club as a coach, or if he wants to move on and play in the Premier League, he'll be able to. But I think Carrick has got to be potentially one that's going out.
Okay, Joshi, give me your last one to leave.
Well, I mean, we've said it a lot already, but Fellaini, look, I mean, he's not a bad guy. He just does not fit into this side. He just does not fit into this side, and we don't play to his strengths. He doesn't play to the strengths of, the limited strengths of this side. And to even just keep him in the squad, I think you just got that temptation to chuck him on, don't you, as a manager? And I think just get rid of him and let him go somewhere where he can play his natural style and not ruin our team. And we have no history of playing long balls up top and things like that, especially in the last 20, 30 odd years when I've been watching. So, yeah, get rid of him and the other two, and I think we'll be all right.
I think Fellaini looked great in that Barcelona red and blue, don't you? McKola, give me your final one to leave.
It's a disappointing one. Michael Carrick. I love Michael Carrick, and I think he's been fantastic for Manchester United since the time that he's been here. Worth every penny that we spent on him, although at the time I remember a lot of people were saying, what are you doing spending nearly 20 mil on Carrick? Yeah. But I think he's been fantastic for us, and unfortunately it's time to go, because who would you rather keep out of Schweinsteiger and Carrick as that experienced head in your midfield? And I think in footballing terms, hopefully Schweinsteiger obviously comes back from his injury, but I think Schweinsteiger could offer us more next season. I also think it's likely Jose Mourinho is going to be our manager, and Schweinsteiger again would probably suit Jose Mourinho a little bit more than Carrick. With Carrick as well, Schneiderlin coming through, I think he has to play more often than not. And I think obviously then you're looking at Carrick as the kind of player that would play if Schneiderlin didn't. So, yeah, Carrick, unfortunately, but I love him.
Okay, there we have it. We have heard your outs. Let's see who's going to come in and make all the difference to this squad next season. Gaz, hit me up. The first one that you want to come in.
I think we need a defender, not just because our current first team ones aren't good enough, just because we've not got enough centre-halves in the squad. So if we can bring one in who can actually play in the first team, great. I think we need a ball-playing defender, a man who can actually defend. The only thing that this guy's missing is experience, and that's John Stones. I realise it would cost us an awful lot of money for a young English centre-half who's already playing in the Premier League, but I do think he'd be completely worth it. We've seen Rio raving about him, and you can sort of see the touch of Rio's about him already. I'm saying that he has the potential to get there if he's at the right club, and I think Man United would be the right club for him. I think that he's a great ball player, and he's better at defending than Daley Blind.
All right, there we go. Squawka Dave, let's hear your first in.
So first of all, I think I'm going to go for a striker. I think Morata over in Italy playing for Juventus. I think he's a perfect player for Manchester United at the moment. He's a tall lad. He's physical. He's very mobile. Very, very quick. You see, go back to the Champions League quarter-final against Bayern Munich in the second leg. Picked the ball up on halfway, beat 3 players, and then slid the ball to Cuadrado, who pretty much banged it in an empty goal. But he's a player that has that ability. Look at the goals he scored in the Champions League knockout stages last season. Pretty much carried Juventus to the final. Scored 5 goals in the knockout stages. Only Neymar scored more, and he's just a player that's so good at drifting into the channels and linking players into play. Pulling out wide and being selfish, pulling somebody over to open up that space in the middle, and he's a weapon on the counter-attack. I just feel with our squad, the pace we have in there, Memphis Depay, Martial, get Morata in there, and that is a very potent front three.
Joshi, first one in.
Yeah, so, I mean, this was a difficult one because obviously we don't know if we're going to be in the Champions League. We don't know who's going to be manager, and I think those are 2 big things that will influence who comes in and who we can attract. And yes, when we weren't in Champions League with Louis van Gaal, we got Di Maria, but that was a club that didn't want him and he was going to leave. So I've sort of thought about all of these things, and I agree with Gaz, we need a centre-back alongside Chris Smalling, but I don't think it should be a young centre-back. I think it should be someone who's experienced, been there, done it. The chap I'm thinking of, again, this is on the assumption we make Champions League and maybe it's a Mourinho manager so we can attract this level of player. There's a chap who's captained his country in the past. He captained his team in Uruguay at the age of 20. He's a top class player, 30 years old, with bags of experience, basically in the middle of his prime. I think Diogo Godin, I would go for him. He's that type of player. He's not super unrealistic either. I think Atletico Madrid are a team that you can sort of bully with a bit of cash, and they've shown that in the past. So yeah, I'd go for him. A bit of experience at the back, top quality centre half. I think he's highly underrated in sort of the world game. And alongside Chris Smalling, I think experience, we've got power, we've got great ability on the ball. So I think bringing that in at the back would be a priority for me. And the other thing about that, it moves Daley Blind into his more natural position in midfield, and having gotten rid of, in my three, Carrick and Fellaini, I think, central midfield is an area that would need to be addressed as well.
Interesting. He is a name that's often linked to a move elsewhere, so that's one that definitely could happen. Adam, give us your first in.
Well, most people could probably guess this one already. Romelu Lukaku. I think if we sign him, I think our forward line's sorted for the next 5, 6, 7 years, potentially, when you look at the likes of what Memphis, Martial and Lukaku could become together. So I'd get Romelu Lukaku. I think obviously Jose Mourinho sold him when he was at Chelsea, but I don't think if Jose comes in that could stop him joining United. This Lukaku is a different player, scores bags of goals, he's one of the best strikers in the league. I think he has the potential to be one of the best strikers in the world, and he could be that focal point for us that everything else could work off. As well, you've got to look at the fact that Wayne Rooney isn't getting any younger, and if he doesn't go this summer, then he will be off sometime soon. In fact, I think it would be this summer. But yeah, Lukaku.
Okay, Gaz, number 2 on your in list, please.
Well, the thing is, I was tossing up between 2 strikers of who to bring in. Out of 2 young strikers in the Premier League anyway, Lukaku and Harry Kane. Since McKola's said Lukaku, I'll say Harry Kane. I'd love to see him at Man United. He's another player that will cost an absolute bomb for us to get, and it may be too much for us to actually be able to afford. But for me, I think he's done enough to prove that he's not a one-season wonder now. I think he's done enough to prove that he has the opportunity to fulfil that potential if he's at the right club. To be honest, I think Tottenham are a good club for him to be at, but I think Man United are an even better club for him to be at. And like McKola said as well about Wayne Rooney, he is on the way out now, and maybe we really do need to be looking at long-term replacements for him. I think Harry Kane's the man. I think he's got a lot about his game.
Intelligent, clinical, definitely. Squawka Dave, hit us up with your next in, please.
So my next guy I'm going to bring in, I'm going to go to France, going to go to Ron, and I'm going to look at Ousmane Dembele, a player that's really jumped onto the scene this season, 18 years old, probably be in the French squad for the Euros, and he just looks like a real talent. Can either play on the right or behind the striker. He's very, 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 very quick. He's got a good, good box of tricks he can pull out. In terms of his output, goals and assists, no player under the age of 21 in Europe's top 5 leagues has been directly involved in more goals. So he has the talent to be there. He can take set pieces from wide areas. He's got a good delivery. So he's a player that has talent, and it's someone that everyone in Europe is looking at right now, and a player that United need to jump on. To bring him through. If you got the likes of, again, going back to Memphis, Martial, Ousmane Dembele, and maybe potentially if we're going to go for Harry Kane or Morata, Lukaku, that is a really good attacking unit, and he'll just bring the pace, bring the creativity, and he's a player that needs to be snapped up.
Yep, I agree. 10 goals, 5 assists, I think he's got so far this season in League One. So at such a young age as well, I think he's proven that he's definitely got the quality. Joshi, who's your second in?
So again, look, I've heard a few interesting things. I mean, I don't know why Harry Kane would join us. I mean, Tottenham, again, it just depends on whether we hit the Champions League or not, and who the manager's going to be. But anyway, given that I got rid of 2 central midfielders and I've brought in a centre-back, I think the central midfield is an area I wanted to address. Ideally, if I'm sort of thinking about in La La Land, maybe someone like Paul Pogba or Marco Verratti, but actually looking through sort of, again, trying to be a bit more realistic and pragmatic. I like Granit Xhaka at Borussia Mönchengladbach. He's a Swiss international, 23 years old. He's already got 40 caps for Switzerland. He plays at the base, he's defensive midfield. Good passer of the ball, eye for a pass, and he gets stuck in. Mobile, energetic, strong. He's a bit of a unit. And I think he could come in, sit at that base, break things up. Schneiderlin can play in that sort of box-to-box role. You've got like the likes of Herrera who can get forward. I think as a trio, that would make a nice unit. He's young, and he's shown he can do the business in the Champions League as well. and again, realistic. You know, we can again flex our muscle financially and get him. I know, you know, I'd like to say Pogba, I'd like to say all these top class players, but you know, we've got to be realistic.
It never really happened, did it? Let's face it. We're constantly linked to him, and then we always sign
Di Maria.
Like we said, there was circumstances with Di Maria, weren't there? Okay, McKola, give us your second in.
You know, for same reason, I wanted to pick a more experienced centre half, yeah, but I tried to be realistic as well and think who Jose Mourinho would target.
John Terry?
No.
Oh God, no.
So, in my opinion, I would go for a more experienced one like Goldin, so that we've still got that pathway for Timothy Fosu meant to potentially come up through at centre half. But anyway, Rafael Varane, I think, is a player that I think Jose will target him. I don't think he'll get him, but who said this had to be realistic, right? No one.
Luckily for you.
You told me you don't want to put Messi, Ronaldo,
So I've gone with
Bale.
Messi, Bale, Ronaldo.
Come on, whoa. Messi's next. Calm down. Yeah, Varane. I think Jose will target these kind of players, but he won't get them next summer. I think you're looking probably potentially the summer after. But someone like Varane would be perfect for us, innit?
All right, cool. So there's no budget left in Adam's 3. Gaz, give us your final. Is this the gem? Or
This is the gem.
You've saved the best to last, yeah?
I think that the state that Man United are in, you know, I've said in the past, it's going to take more than one transfer summer window to actually sort us out. And I think we need a player that's sort of going to be like a Robin van Persie type player like he was in Fergie's last year. And I think we need a man who can drag this squad to a Premier League title, a man who probably isn't going to be here too long. And that man is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Ooh. I actually think that I understand there are negatives of this. The main one in my head is that it might push people like Marcus Rashford out of the team. If so, I'd give him a loan out somewhere else rather than just sat on the bench. But if Ibrahimovic was to come in, I think he would be that man to drag us to a league title. And I understand, you know, we want to plan ahead at Man United. We don't want to be one of those teams who just looks for the next 3 years. But we need that momentum behind us to go into the future. And I think that he'd be the man who could definitely do it, even if it is just for a couple of seasons.
Zlatan's what, 35?
Yeah.
By the time he retires, at the most optimistic, he's going to retire at 38. Rashford's still only 21.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Okay. All right, cool. Dave, give me your final one. Is this a gem for you, or is this just another one of your signings?
You say this is one that's it is the best till last. I think it's something that we need. A centre back. We've all talked about centre backs. I'm going to go for Bonucci. You know, Italian international, 28 years old. He's won X amount of league titles with Juventus. Won a league title with Inter Milan, and he's the player that's making this Juventus side sort of tick at the back. You know, he plays in the middle of the back three. Really good at distributing the ball. You know, bringing attackers in. So that's one thing that you want in a modern day centre-back, ball playing. You know, he's really good at reading the play. You look at his interception versus Napoli, you know, the big game in top of Serie A, Juventus versus Napoli. Napoli were actually top at that point. He just jumped, athletic, pulled the ball out of the way, slipped it away from Gonzalo Higuain and stopped a definite goal. So he's going to go in there, you know, the reading of the game's there, and he's hard as nails. In 2012, he was confronted by an armed robber when he was with his wife and his 6-month-old kid. As the robber went to reach for his watch, Bonucci chinned him and then chased him down the road. So that's the type of centre-half you want. Someone that can read the game, someone that can pass, and someone that isn't scared to have a scrap if need be in the Premier League.
Take mine out. I want him.
Right, Joshi, give us yours. Final one.
So yeah, I have kind of saved best till last. This guy's a jewel. I think I rate him again so highly. And again, I'm going to Atletico Madrid, and I'm going to go for Antoine Griezmann. He's versatile.
You laughed at Varane.
Well, no, I laughed at Varane because you said I wanted an experienced centre back, age, blah blah blah, and then you went for Varane. I didn't laugh because he was unrealistic. But look, again, Griezmann is one of those. If we hit the Champions League and we get someone like Mourinho in as the manager, you have that pull, and we have the financial muscle to sort of bully Atletico Madrid. If that doesn't happen, obviously we don't make Champions League, we don't get in that type of manager, then you've got to be looking at someone like Lukaku. So, but Griezmann would be my sort of that jewel in the crown of the transfer window.
Okay, then Adam.
Can he play on the wing, Griezmann, as well?
Yeah, I think he plays like across the forward three.
Yeah, so he's versatile. So I think that helps with Rashford's development as well. With Rooney on the decline, you know, we've got versatility up in that sort of top unit with someone like him coming in.
Okay, McKola, give us your final one. You've got about, I think, 11 quid left to spend, I reckon, probably.
I'm stretching this 11 quid then.
Grant Holt.
Riyad Mahrez. You know what? This man is the player of the year in the Premier League, yeah. I don't want to hear anyone say Vardy or Kane or whatever. This man is the player of the year. He plays, obviously, he drifts centrally as well, but he plays out wide a lot for Leicester. And that's somewhere where we've come up short recently. And I think with Wayne Rooney potentially going, the likes of Fellaini, the likes of Carrick, all these kind of players moving out, you can then move Mata centrally, play him in his number 10, his favourite position, if Jose Mourinho even keeps him around. But having Mahrez in the team would be a dream, in my opinion. He's a fantastic talent to watch. And not only does he create goals, he scores goals as well. And I think it's only a matter of time until he either wins the European Cup with Leicester or moves on from there.
All right, okay, so there we go. There's Adams, there's everybody's. We've seen your 3 ins, we've seen your 3 outs, and the decision is up to me. So I'm going to say, on the outs, I think it's pretty unanimous. Fellaini's gone.
Gotta go.
I think everyone's in agreement with that.
Oh.
And I think the shout for Phil Jones to be moved on, I think this is just like pruning bushes a little bit. I think you have to be cutting some people to allow others to come in and grow. And I think Phil Jones is probably taking up a spot that we could see the likes of Fosu Mensah or Roshan Williams or another centre-half come in and take hold of. So Phil Jones is on my out list.
Works as well.
And the final one I'm torn on because Valencia, I agree with the points made against him. And I also agree with the points made against Carrick. And for the same reasons that Jones needs to move on. Carrick is at the end of his career. And I'm afraid I'm going to have to go with Carrick, I think. Reluctantly, because I'm a massive Carrick fan. There's my 3. So Fellaini, Carrick, and Phil Jones are the ones that I would be moving on. And the 3 that were coming in, we didn't have so much sort of unanimity on who we should be bringing in there. It was quite mixed. I think we had probably 7 names out of the 9 choices there. So I see us needing a right winger, and I am very torn between Dembele and Mahrez. And I lean towards Mahrez because he's done it in the Premier League and he's a little bit older, a little bit more experienced, and I think he's probably ready for that step up. I think Dembele, we've got a lot of players that are potential players, and I don't think we need any more, and I don't think Mourinho's the one to sign potential. Can I just stop you there?
You've agreed with 4 of my players so far. I think you need to chill out.
All right, shut up, because I'm probably going to agree with another one in a minute. So I think Mahrez is the one that I would bring in for those reasons that I've just said. I don't think we're going to be looking to potential too much. We've got a lot of potential at the club, so let's get something that's ready for now. Then I'm torn between Godin and Bonucci because I like both of them. And I'm going to go with Dave's story about him chinning a robber. That's what swings it for me. I love violence like that, so he's in there for me. Bonucci is in the mix. And the last one, I'm torn between the 2 players. Harry Kane and Lukaku. On one hand, you've got this awesome powerhouse, and I see him making a partnership with Marshall for days because they're so different types of players. And then on the other hand, we've got an extremely intelligent, clinical finisher in Harry Kane, who I think he's probably just a shade under world class at the moment. I think he's an absolutely phenomenal striker. But dealing with Daniel Levy is probably going to put me off. Because Daniel Levy is going to twist about 90 million out of you for him. So my final choice is probably going to be Lukaku. So Lukaku, Mahrez, and Bonucci for the ins for me. We're going with quite ready-made, experienced players. You're allowed to. You are allowed to, but the final decision rests with me.
Yeah, fine. You've gotten rid of 2 central midfielders, and you've not brought in a central midfielder. So you've left with Schweinsteiger, Schneiderlin, and Herrera in centre mid. So one injury, we're fucked. Schweinsteiger hasn't his injuries are well known, and then that means you're left with Schneiderlin and Herrera. We do not have a centre midfielder coming through from the youth team that's going to slot straight in. So you've got to sign a central midfielder.
We don't need to sign a central midfielder. I agree that we're a little bit short in those areas, but
it's a key area in the team. It's not like you can
we're not actually making the decision at the moment, so we can go a little bit crazy if we want, and that's how crazy I'm going. We're not just going to sign 3, we're not going to sell 3. So there we go. That is my decision, and it's my decision, it's final. So thank you for watching. Stick in the comments what you think about the decisions that I've made and what the points that these lads made. And stick it in the comments as well what you want to see. Shut up.
You fascist.
Stick it in the comments what you want to see from a debate next week, and we will choose one of your comments and we will do a debate on it. So thank you for watching. Help us to get to 255,000. 255? Yeah, let's go for 255,000. Sod it. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.
Do you want a brew?
There are 209 registered associations to play international football. Northern Mariana Islands, Lesotho, Vanuatu, Germany. I've never heard of any of those mugs.